What are some common signs that someone grew up with shush asterisk TTY parents? Emotional numbness, especially in the face of bad things. Once you've seen enough shit, certain things just don't faze you anymore. The ability to love but not believing for a second that anyone could love you back. That you simply aren't worthy of it. Storing up a lot of mental and emotional pain because you feel that nobody cares enough to listen. Lacking self-confidence in all areas of life, even ones you seemingly excel in by others' opinions. The complete inability to see yourself as worthy of anything at all. Getting defensive when asked to explain why you did something or why you chose to say what you said. Shutting people out or not pursuing a real connection with anyone because you feel that you are more of a burden to them than anything positive you could possibly offer to them. Not speaking up for yourself and instead choosing to fade into the background through fear that you will cause embarrassment. Damaging any potential romantic relationships because you can't believe their intentions towards you are genuine, simply because you don't feel you deserve any of it. The list goes on, but my heart hurts. I don't ever want to marry, and even if I do, I'm not going to have kids. I don't want to imagine someone else, especially my children, going through something like I did. What if I can't provide emotionally or financially like my parents and they end up like me? I can't take that guilt into my grave. I spent my whole childhood on the brink of suicide, and even now when things are a bit better, my body is used to that anxiety so badly that I often let loose even without registering it in my head that I'm letting loose. I have nightmares on random things every fucking night, and I get up at least 2 to 3 times every night because I can't sleep because of the nightmares and racing heartbeat. Even when my life is going good, I can't enjoy a good night's sleep because of how fucked my body is due to all that lifetime anxiety. I've spent a lot of time fixing myself. Even my childhood hobbies included reading self-help books on how to perform self-therapy, and I spent a majority of my life trying to undo what I now think can't be undone. I can just accept it and try to minimize the damage and not get into a relationship so I give some other person the emotional pain because of my inability to fix myself. Haha, I regret clicking on this thread. You remember being severely neglected yet you were told you were spoiled. Why is nobody mentioning the silent footsteps? When you grow up with parents that will yell at you for existing, you develop the ability to hide your presence as much as possible and always try to keep your noise and visibility to a minimum. They lie. Lie specifically for avoiding conflict. Actually, I change my answer to avoiding conflict. It's avoidance until an explosion. It's all they know. Edit. Thanks for the silver. I had a rough day, it's almost 5 AM and I'm still up Sue. Point 2 rough days. So I didn't log in for a while, and wow. What a depressingly large response. XD. Ooh, we're all effed up. Some personal reference, I used to lie so frequently it was easier than remembering the truth. I would get mad at characters on TV for being so bad at coming up with a plausible denial. One day I decided I was broken and now I won't lie. I tell the truth all the time and it's so calming. My spouse, also shite parents, will lie about anything money related, thanks in-laws. But he's so bad at it and never covers his tracks. Like, come on. At least have some childhood trauma that makes you good at it. For real, he just says everything was on sale. I've gotten used to just ignoring anything he says about money. I'm starting to think my parents weren't the best parents. Paranoia. The inability to trust others and obsessively overthinking every conversation they have. Also, speaking from a personal perspective, people that grew up with toxic parents continue to question their sanity and reality here and there from the continuous gaslighting. They are always trying to figure out what they did wrong and what they're supposed to be doing and how, while editing their own thoughts and feeling vaguely bad. Not being able to remember the majority of their childhood. I'm talking about huge gaps of time you just cannot recall. I get it. Repressing the memories is just the mind trying its best to protect itself. They don't understand simple gestures of kindness. Took my husband a long time to understand that my parents liked giving little gifts to people and doing things for them, that they weren't trying to insult him or us or make us feel incompetent, they were just showing affection. Edit. Some people are focusing on the gift part of this, while I was trying to emphasize the kindness. Like, my dad, or brothers, offering to help or keep company when he mentioned he had to fix the deck or paint the shed or go to the junkyard for a car part. To him the offer was insulting and suspicious. To them it was just what you do to make someone's life easier. But in his family that notion didn't exist, so he couldn't figure out why it was happening, except he didn't think it could be a good reason. Doesn't talk about their interests because parents have never showed interest, belittled them. They're a desperate people pleaser. Someone who'll leap to the aid of anyone, who'll give up anything they have so that someone else doesn't miss out, who will go well out of their way to be of assistance, and who abhors needing any help themselves. They say sorry too much for things they shouldn't even be sorry for, especially for things like opinions or asking for things they want. They don't form attachments to others. They grew up in an environment where such attachments were a negative and/or resulted in negative outcomes. They're completely unwilling to open up and share anything because in their experience it will always be used against them. Going into random panic mode when something insignificant goes sideways. Control freak. They grew up in chaos, alcoholism, gambling, foreclosure, and are obsessed with averting some unforeseen disaster. People who try way too hard to please, and are terrified to put themselves first. This is the saddest trait because it's the easiest for fresh predators to take advantage of when the parents are out of the picture. If only terrible parents knew or cared that they were grooming their kids for future abuse. Edit. Putting yourself first in this context does not mean being selfish or narcissistic. It means having the capacity to set healthy boundaries. It means understanding that your opinions have merit, that your emotions matter, that you should have complete bodily autonomy, and that you shouldn't fear the wrath of Zeus if you say no. Also, it means that you should never have to do anything you're uncomfortable with to earn someone's love. They are probably the strongest of the bunch. Silent when the talk of childhood comes up. Able to work and deal with tremendous stress. Some of the most loyal people. Or, they've given up and are dead or dying of addiction and self-abuse. They say sorry all the time for the smallest of things. They try really hard to please you, even if there's no reason for them to do that. They're incapable of putting themselves first. They need constant reassurance that they're a good person. They assume you're upset with them if you seem even slightly disinterested. They have difficulty maintaining friendships as they feel they're not worth your time. They can pick up bad habits easily. Drugs, poor diet, poor sleeping pattern. They feel drawn to people who are bad to them as it's all they know. They don't even recognize the bad shit their parents, or other people, have done, as they're just used to being shat on all the time. They can be insecure in relationships as they may feel they're unworthy of your love. When they're dealing with shit, they may isolate themselves as they never learnt to put their trust in other people due to their parents using those issues against them. They'll have poor social skills. They may be very obviously autistic, ADHD, depressed, etc. But haven't even considered it because their parents don't believe in mental health and mental conditions, or just refuse to accept that their kids might have something even remotely different about themselves than the parents, as those parents don't see a world outside of themselves. These are examples I've taken from myself and friends I know. Please always be patient with anyone who deals with bad parents. They're trying to go through life without ever being properly set up to understand it, and I can promise you they're doing their best. Love them like their parents refused to do properly. Empathy, but not in a healthy, normal sense. Growing up in an abusive household, I learned to be extremely hyper-aware of everyone's emotions so I could act accordingly so things wouldn't escalate. I remember always asking my ex-boyfriend if his mom seemed to be in a sour mood when we went out together, and he'd always say she looked happy, but she would have an episode later that day. It keeps me safe in a way, but it impacts my mental health severely. It's a common thing I notice in others too. The more I read, the more I see apply to me. A lack of self-esteem shows up in so many different ways. My so basically told me that I make her worry because I don't boss her around, which leaves her always wondering if I'm disappointed in her or if I feel she's not being a good girlfriend. If I boss her around and she follows my commands, then she knows she's done what she's been told and has nothing to worry about. This has become less of an issue over the years. I refuse to boss her around. I try to show appreciation instead and remind her that I love her, but she still worries she's not good enough sometimes, and I hate that. I don't blame her, but I hate it more than anything. I feel she's never been good enough for her parents, which has left her vulnerable to date guys who take advantage of that, and also made her feel like she's not good enough. Edit. To all the people suggesting therapy. She would love to get legitimate therapy, we just aren't financially in a place where that's affordable. She's in an online support group though. She says it really helps, but she wishes she could do the real thing someday. They go out of their way to please people. They can't take compliments because they're so used to being put down. They flinch if they hear someone raise their voice or at loud noises. Edit. I'm going to add in the fact that they're not good, uncomfortable with conflict even if they're not directly involved, because they inevitably get dragged into the conflict when their parents are arguing. They get attached way too quickly to anyone that shows the bare minimum of human empathy. Is this how I write it? Towards them. Edit. Thank you for the awards, and I'm also calling myself out with this. When they think they always cause problems for others, and when they are emotionally and socially closed off, so it's very hard for them to be more sociable, etc. Edit. Thanks for the awards and making my day better. Lol. I knew a kid who'd instinctively cover his head whenever someone was behind him, and he'd refuse to sit or stand anywhere that didn't have his back to a wall. His older siblings beat him up regularly. He'd frequently be coming to school with fresh bruises, and when a girl tried to comfort him, he thought she was just trying to lure him into a trap and hit her, which got him expelled. And growing up, I'd see him around town. He dropped out of school completely and got into drugs. His parents never gave a shit. Never. Not fucking once. He had nothing because his older brothers would steal and destroy anything he ever owned, even his clothes, so he'd wear the same thing for weeks on end. Is it any surprise that he's been in and out of prison all his adult life? Parental apathy is fucking shit. And to add a cherry on top, his abusive older brothers went on to live pretty happy, fulfilling lives, but the little brother they tortured and abused for years became the societal and family outcast. Extreme independence because they couldn't rely on their parents when young. Like unnecessary levels of independence and not asking their friends for help when it's no big deal. Non-committal behavior in a relationship because they don't like to be dependent on someone else. It's the way they apologize. For example, it's not just sorry. It's sorry, sorry, sorry. Said quick and urgently to avoid being hit. People who flinch at close contact or fast hand movements close to them. Delivered a pizza today. The kid, around 15, said sorry over 20 times, and I was at his door for less than 2 minutes. Am I being spied on or what? tar_tar. Okay, on a serious note, when they're a whole different person, usually become quieter when their parents are present. Reading these comments and relating to it have just infuriated and depressed me. Everything I hate about myself is caused by my abusive, degenerate father. Now his influence feels like some venom that I can't get off my skin. They have unstable relationships, struggle in social situations, weren't taught basic household tasks, get nervous when someone raises their voice, don't know how to apologize or apologize for things they shouldn't apologize for, struggle with intimacy, physical touch, are often people pleasers. They tell traumatized stories and think they are happy memories. Edit. Wow, I did not expect this to hit so hard with so many people. Thanks for the awards. When I told my professor in graduate school that I wasn't going home for Christmas, he said, "Oh yeah, I mean, your parents can't be the best company. I've seen you apologize for being too polite." Like, yeah. As an adult, overwhelming guilt with spending on clothes and accessories. I can always tell when someone didn't, though. When I've alluded to having difficulties with my parents, it's unbelievable how many times I've been responded to with, "Yeah, but they do love you, though." Not all parents love their children. Not all parents are good people. Your experience is not universal. It was ways heartbreaking to get this response, because I knew that, even if they didn't say it, they were blaming me for the issues. Well, this relaxing walk through childhood hell was a nice break from reading about the start of WW3. Or not. They suck at apologizing. Either they apologize for every small little thing because their parents made them feel guilty just for existing. Or they never apologize at all, or only apologize insincerely, because admitting you are wrong is a sign of weakness. And #X200B. And #X200B. Edit. Virtual hugs to everyone commenting and feeling represented by this. What happened to us during our childhoods was cruel. No one should have had to live through that. Asterisk for the people that were asking about me, I'm in a much better place now. But in my downtimes, I still do mourn for the childhood that I never had. Asterisk. People that are old beyond their years. Nothing screams trauma like the too well-behaved, mature, quiet, self-sufficient child. We are experts at being exactly what we need to be to go unnoticed and cause as few waves as possible. Does feeling uncomfortable when receiving a compliment count? I feel like whenever someone gives me a compliment I go out of my way to convince them why I'm not actually deserving of a compliment. That, or I will try to return to them an even bigger compliment that outshadows the compliment they gave to me. They don't share things about themselves. Anything you say can and will be used against you isn't just applicable when you're getting arrested. Funnily enough, that great memory was never around if you brought up something they did wrong. Didn't see this mentioned yet, but laughing at inappropriate, unfunny, anxiety or stress-inducing things. Laughter is often used unconsciously to relieve, mask, or defend oneself against the severity of an uncomfortable topic, such as trauma. Psychology Today link about this phenomenon. This link edit. Thank you for the award. I am so glad that this comment helped shine a light on an often misunderstood reaction. I learned about this via my own therapist, who noted that I laugh when talking about the unpleasant stuff. Reading through everyone's replies here, I just wish to say, I am proud of all of you. I'm proud of you for talking about this, and for sharing your experiences. I genuinely feel alone when my giggles catch me out. I don't know anyone who does this. Talking about it, knowing that there are fellow gigglers out there really makes the world feel more like a lovely place. So, thank you. I'm feeling less alone tonight, and I really needed that. I flinch when anyone close to me moves their arm. They come to school with dirty clothes, barely have any clothes, have bad hygiene, and are extremely withdrawn. Instead of my teachers recognizing these as signs that my brother and I were abused, they ridiculed us. The startle reflex. When they flinch at loud noises, or when someone puts a hand on their shoulder, or when they feel they've done something wrong. A patient called me the wrong name, and when I gently clarified, he flinched like he was about to dodge a blow. Inability to admit being wrong or wrongdoing. Stems from being wrong was met with harsh consequences as a child. Gets scared or anxious at the garage door opening. Feeling like they're never good enough. Toxic idea of love, very poor communication skills, being incredibly needy or controlling, not wanting to speak about their family and avoiding the topic of family altogether. Having to completely reinvent your persona because what you were taught by your parents doesn't work in the real world. They're uncertain, as a rule, of every last goddamn thing they think, do, want, say, feel. Shitty parents do such harm to what could have been healthy hearts and minds. Good parents teach how to establish and maintain boundaries by modeling healthy behaviors. Kids need love and direction. When they don't get it, they suffer for life. Shout out to all the good parents. Y'all are society's superheroes and you're rare and special. No privacy boundaries because they were never given any. Speaking from experience, they don't trust anybody. They don't ask for help and they isolate themselves a lot. They learned the people closest to them will only hurt them, so they're too afraid to open up and rely on people. Edit. Wow, didn't expect all this and the awards. Thanks. Masking. You won't notice when someone's actively masking, but you'll notice when they accidentally drop it. It's the people who tell the funny jokes and befriend nearly everyone at work, who can strike up a conversation at a coffee shop, but that you occasionally catch doing strange things or saying something off that are the surprise. People who automatically place themselves back to a wall, glance around while they're speaking, you'll notice they're glancing at people, windows, and exits pretty exclusively. The mask goes down the most when they mention something like it's a funny anecdote. Oh, I've been run over before, I was fine. Yeah, my dad was a hard ass too. We don't talk anymore. Oh my god, yes, paying rent to your parents sucks asterisk. My mom charged me $400 plus a month at 17 and she didn't even pay rent. These are the people that have had years to figure out how to live with shit, but it still affects their behavior and probably always will. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and liking. Any feedback in the comments would be greatly appreciated so that we can make these videos even better. Thanks for watching Upvote Stories.